Welcome to Captured Conversations, a Haley Phillips photography podcast. I am your host, Haley. Here is your co-host, Apollo. He is going to town on his bone again. We'll see. We should start making bets or something at the beginning of the episode, like how long is he going to last? Because I think every other episode he has left once we started reading stories. He can't take it anymore. But it's so funny because when we're chilling, I will say he does like to move and will come on the other side. He'll kind of bounce back and forth. This is my seat. That chair over there is my husband's seat, and then these are Apollo's seats. But anyways, I always get so off topic. So welcome to the podcast. If you're new here, hi, hello. I'm a Chattanooga wedding photographer. I photograph everything though. Um, but yeah, so this is a chill podcast. I've got a t-shirt and leggings on. Um, in my blanket, just chilling here in my living room. Hi, welcome to Casa de Santanastaso. Um, yeah. So I don't know what this hand was doing. Um, but yeah, so on this podcast, it's kind of centered around what I do, wedding photography. But we talk about photography in general. We talk about wedding stuff. We talk about wedding photography, stuff all in that realm. Um, we read stories. I'd love to have people on the podcast one day, but right now we're reading stories on Reddit, and just me and you were chatting about them. And Apollo is doing nothing at all. Whoopsie doopsies. Um, sorry, I hit my laptop. That's what the whoopsie doopsie was about. Um, but yeah, all right. So for today, I have one story kind of where people are what would you do in this situation? And then I've got I want to talk about some wedding planning and just advice from a wedding photographer. So if that sounds good to you, let's get going. So the first one was from Facebook. I'm not going to say anybody's names. I do more on Reddit because it's anonymous, but I don't feel like I should on Facebook. I might just refer to them as their initials or the first letter of their name. But I came across this in a wedding group or a Facebook group on wedding vendors or something that I'm in. And so this first situation, I have zero, I will never experience this. It's, I have zero business talking about it, but I was so curious what other people was going to say. And if I was ever in this situation, um, like it's so impossible for me. But if I ever was in this situation, what would I do if I was OP? Paulo, you look kind of mad, buddy. You good boy? Let me get your belly. Let me get your belly? No. Yeah. His belly is his kryptonite. Usually he throws himself backwards. You want your bone? Oh, you want me to get you? Oh, okay, see, there we go. Now we're getting to belly. Oh. Belly pat break. Belly pat break. Sick a boy. That's mommy's big boy. Do you have anything to say? No? Okay. Usually he goes at least, but he did not today. All right, anyway, so here's the situation. What do you do when the guy you used to hook up with a few years ago's fiance reaches out to you about shooting their wedding? Apollo, this is inappropriate. Stop. Do that on your own time, sir. It's like he never does really any grooming stuff and always wants to sit next to me when I am not recording. But as soon as I start recording, he's like, "Hi, I need to groom myself and I want to run around like a chicken with my head cut off." I will say we read the first part of the story and he's still here, so. Anyways, so what do you do when the guy you used to hook up with years ago, fiance, reaches out about you shooting their wedding? So in my mind, I'm just saying, what if this was an ex of mine? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably say hey, I don't think I'm the best fit for you guys. Um, I mean, well, I have shot a wedding for somebody that used to like me, which is totally a different situation. Um, but that was no big deal. I didn't really care. I was super happy for them. Um, they were used to be a best friend of mine. There goes the Apollo floof. Um, boop. If you have a husky, you know. But yeah, okay, let's see what people in the comments say, maybe people who have um some experience. This RR says, "Oh crap, you say nothing and get that money." OP commented and said, haha, that's what I'm saying, but is it weird? It was years ago, and I'm assuming he knows she inquired with me. JM commented to OP's comment and said, not weird, especially when you're getting paid. PAID in caps. AO comments, if it's really going to be too awkward for you or the groom, you simply say, thank you for inquiring, but I'm already booked that day. I recommend you looking into XYZ photographer. Remember, you might be okay, but you're also putting the groom in a really awkward position and he's not going to appreciate it. I would also be so afraid, like, what if she found out? That would be horrible. Um, and like she might already know and be like, I don't really care, you know? And if that's the case, then great. Um, but yeah, I feel like that if this is like a super one-off thing, now if this is a situation you're running into a lot, I guess that would be like a different case scenario. But I also wonder, like, okay, let's say like you really need to book this wedding, hire an associate to shoot it for you. I feel like that would make it incredibly different. I think that would be okay. This is okay. CA says this is slightly messy, but if you really want to take this wedding, then come back with feedback on how it went. Yeah, I would like an update. Um, BB says, I think you need to find out if the groom knows. I'm a planner and I would not presume he knows anything about what she's been working on. 100%. And if it would make him uncomfortable at his own wedding. If not, then you're all good. But I do think you have a responsibility to make sure the groom is okay with it. If the bride doesn't know, I think she needs to know, and you need to keep it professional. So I also feel like if you're wanting to like make sure the groom knows, I would just like set up a Zoom call with them. Like, hey, I'd really like to discuss the details of the day with both of you. Um, I really need both of you for this meeting, so can we set up a time to call? And that way you can kind of confirm. And then I feel like if he's uncomfortable with it, then he would either message you or tell her like, "Hey, soon to be wife, I really didn't vibe with that photographer. Let's go somewhere else." But if you're uncomfortable with it, either hire an associate or boop 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 boop. Sorry, I was booping Apollo. Hire an associate or just say, "Hey, I usually refrain from saying like I'm booked that day. I usually say, "Hey, based on the details you've given me, I'm not sure if I'm going to be the best photographer for you, but I highly recommend so and so. She is wonderful or he is wonderful. Most photographers I know are female. So 100% reach out to them." So that's probably what I would do. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, so MS says I literally, sorry, if you've seen Parks and Rec, you know. If you know, you know. I just photographed this way. Oh, bye, Apollo. And he's gone. There he goes. Do you want to come sit over here? Apollo, you want to come over here? Come on. No, over here. He's sniffing my bag over there. I think that he wants to sit in the chair, but I've got a bag in the chair. Apollo, here, come sit right here. You can come sit right here? No? Okay, he's gonna sit on the floor over there. Bye. Okay. We have hardwood floors, so it probably feels good for him. All right, so sorry. MS says I literally just photographed the wedding last weekend. I was friends with his sister in high school and dated her brother and photographed their wedding. I was so nervous because it didn't end well. I thought it was going to be awkward because I knew his family, but it wasn't. Thank gosh. He, sorry, Apollo's like punching my backpack. He kept turning his head every time I kept taking a picture, and I started to get mad. And I knew when I looked at this one shot, he was still salty 12 years later, but I accidentally laughed when I saw this picture. And he is like flipping off the camera. So, but it doesn't look like it was the groom in this situation because this person's like in a hat and plaid. So, um, a little different. Um, BA says, I would pass. It's not worth it to me to open the door for this type of potential drama. Also, with all the photographers out there, why would they even want to do that? So weird. EB says, I shot my high school ex's wedding last month. Bride knew, didn't care. Family was awesome, tipped me. I'm exporting their files now. So, yeah, this can totally go so many different ways. I would be super hesitant to be like, hey, bride, I need to let you know that I like hooked up with him years ago. Because, like, what if she doesn't know? And, like, she should know, but, like, that's not your place. Or maybe it is as a woman. I just wouldn't want to open that can of worms connected to my business. So I'd probably do the Zoom call thing. I might even still hire an associate because I feel like it's a difference if you dated somebody and hooked up with them. And my personal opinion. Oh, Apollo's hitting the tripod and it's going and it's going. Okay, sorry. Apollo was hitting the tripod, so I had to fix it. Decided to try to lay against it. Now he's laying against my backpack instead. But there's a good chance he'll hit it again. But yeah, I don't know. What would you do? Because that's crazy. All right, so I want to go on to our next thing. So I want to do one story, but now I want to do something else. So this is a Reddit thread from r/wedding planning from Sugar Fix 1993. What is the hardest part of wedding planning? So I want to go through some of this and see if I can maybe help or whatever some of these situations. All right, so Baby Fire by 30 says the hardest part of wedding planning is dealing with other people's vendors, family, friends. There's so much communication required for a wedding day than any other point in life. It can be overwhelming. I'm so annoyed with friends and family didn't book accommodation when we sent the save the dates because it's a popular weekend at a popular location. Now they're annoyed. There's nothing left. Ugh, they'll cope. Not my problem. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Not your problem. If they didn't get a place to stay, that's not your problem. And you sent out save the dates, which presumably you sent out save the dates maybe 6 months in advance, and then maybe your invitation's 3 months in advance. There's something like that. So yeah, it seems like they had some time. Dealing with people can be hard. I think if you have good vendors, it can help. Like I know I sit down with my couples. Sorry, one second. Got my good old Southern sweet tea. I know that I sit down with my couples and we talk about, what it is they're wanting. I create a photography timeline for them and they give that to their wedding coordinator to add whatever else onto all the other vendors and such. But, yeah, it can definitely be hard. I definitely say boundaries because you're also blending two families too. So people come from different expectations. They've had their own family drama or trauma. So people can definitely be overwhelming. I would typically say one thing I did when I got engaged is I ordered like a wedding planning book off of Amazon, and that helped me to kind of keep my head on straight. But with that said, I had been a wedding photographer for a year and a half at that point. I had been to weddings almost every single weekend of the year, um, at least spring through fall. Sometimes multiple in a weekend, making up for maybe another weekend I didn't work a wedding. It was an insane time in my life. So I was very, very knowledgeable in the wedding planning space. Um, but that's not the same for everybody. So it's really hard to know. I would say if it's bogging you down a lot, maybe even consider therapy for this time. Of course, wedding planning shouldn't be so bad that you need like therapy, but if there's like other stuff coming up, um, like family drama that's really, making it more stressful, that may be something to process during therapy. Maybe couples counseling. Also, a lot of states will like give you a discount like on your marriage license, or at least Tennessee gives you some kind of like discount on your marriage license if you do some kind of couples counseling. So that's just like a thing, and it's helpful if you can find the right therapist. That's a whole other thing. Oh, apologist kind of ran into a table. But anyways, let's go on to the next comment. Let's see. Vendors not getting back or posting their pricing even on their website. I also find this infuriating. Even a range is helpful. My fiance's family has made so many passive comments that I'm actually ready to cancel the reception for them. My fiance's dad is also playing games, and there's so much behind that. People's true colors come out when someone dies and when someone gets married. I think the only reason I'm not seeing it is that, sorry, I think the only reason I am not seeing it is I saw what happened on my side when my mom died, so I cut people off from that. Yeah, so it's basically what I was just talking about. Like, maybe this is something y'all need to process, and therapy could help that. I want to talk about the vendors not getting back or posting their pricing on their website. I try to get back like within 24 hours, unless I'm like out of town or sick or, something like that. But I also have all my packages on my website and I can quote custom packages. Like, I'll show you what my website looks like. Um, the only thing I'm kind of don't have something down for is my destination weddings because that is so different. It's going to be different if it's a destination wedding in Florida versus Colorado, you know? But it's still based off my wedding packages. It just has an additional fee for travel. So I need to make sure you can see this. Yes, you can. Okay, so you see, like on my website, I've got all these packages. And if we zoom in, like this is my 2 hour events, like right now, what I'm charging. I've got it broke down in months. Here's like my most popular packages. Make sure you can still see this. I think you can kind of see it. So you're going to see the behind the scenes a little bit because I want to make sure you can see this. Uh. But anyways, if you can or can't see this, I don't know. But then I have like, oh, you don't know how much time you need on your wedding day? Click here and read this, and this will help you decide what package you need. And then like here is other sessions and like engagement session, wedding couple session, like all these things. I have pricing. Well, like I said, and that's for all of my stuff. Like if we go to families, boom, right here, package pricing. Um, I have nothing to hide. And I don't have anything to hide with the destination weddings. I don't know what I don't know. Like if someone hires me to shoot a wedding in Hawaii, that's obviously going to cost a lot more than if it's a wedding in New Orleans. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a one place I don't have pricing. And it actually says investment. All prices are custom quoted to meet your special day. For any necessary travel to receive a custom quote, contact us with the details about your day, and we're happy to travel anywhere for your day. So, I try to help, try to figure it out. And it's like, how long am I there for? Are you on the rehearsal dinner? There's so much in that. Um, but yeah. Anyways, any whoosies. Um, but yeah, I think having even a range, like if I was strictly a destination photographer and that is what I was marketing super towards and going for, and that's what my business was primarily, then I would have maybe a little more info and breakdown. And maybe I need to add that. Maybe I need to add that. At some point I might add that. I used to have that, but then I always felt like it was never accurate when people did reach out, and then people would be like, oh, that's too much. I'm like, oh, well, then tell me about your day. And it may be different. And then it was, but they had already kind of made up their mind. Sorry, ear itches. Ear is itchy underneath my hair is in this headset and everything. Okay, anyways. All right. Let's look at some comments under this. Caitlin Lee X says vendors not posting pricing ranges is truly my biggest annoyance. Like, at least tell me what your prices even start at. Everyone requires an email, wedding date, etc. While I get that prices vary, it's a waste of everyone's time if you're 3 times my budget. 100%. 100%. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see. This person says paying. Yeah, that is the hardest part of wedding planning for sure. It can be expensive. Um, IMG with a bunch of numbers. The vendor search has been the hardest part for me. The next hardest part is the other people dealing with their input, unsolicited information, feeling like we have to make everyone happy. Other things I find difficult is just the logistics of the day for the bridal party, key moments, stuff like that. Yeah. Especially if you've never been to a wedding. If I had to plan a wedding before I was a photographer, which granted, I became a photographer when I was 19. No. Yeah, it was 2018. I was about to turn 19. I began specializing in weddings when I was 20, about to turn 21. So, not really a whole lot of chance for me to like get married before then, but I would probably be so lost. But that's also one thing I love about my business. If my couples come to me and say like, "Do you know vendors?" I have a list of recommended vendors I have worked with and personally know. Um, I can't say that they're going to do the best job because I can't control them. But when I have worked with them, they did a great job. Or they're the vendors I use on my own wedding day. And so I literally have worked with them. I've either hired them or worked alongside them or in some degree made a very good relationship with them, maybe through events like vendor events, something like that. Have heard a lot of people say, I love this person, they're great. Um, I actually have somebody to add to my list right now. Is a DJ at the wedding I was at yesterday. His name is Dr. Steve. Groove DJ, I think it is. I had never heard of this man, and he's going on my list because I thought he was amazing. And that's how I've created my list. Nobody pays to be on it. Let me see what his name was. Dr. Steve. Sorry, Dr. Steve Groove Professor. Y'all need to look him up. He was so good. He's truly a music fan. Um, Sorry, that was kind of off topic, but Dr. Steve, you rocked the other night. But yeah, it's kind of, you're relying on the tribe you're building around you. And if you find those good key people in there that are connected that you can rely on, then it'll make your wedding planning process easier. And that's what I also hope for my other vendors, that if you reached out to like any vendor on my list, that if they have the knowledge, they would share it. But I do know some people. I don't know the photographer who charges extra for helping you create your wedding timeline. I don't, because I want to know what I'm doing, and I like to work in a certain way, and if it works for you, it works for me, then we get all the pictures we want. Obviously, each day is going to be different. But I have worked enough weddings where I'm like, hey, just include me in the conversation. Let's talk about it because I want you to succeed today. And I want to succeed today. Let's see. Um, mm, Let's see if there's other comments that are sticking out to me. Okay, this person, T Puppy Love, Tee Puppy Love. Our wedding is until spring of 24, so it's posted a year ago, but I have booked almost everybody. The hardest part so far, vendors, the most annoying part of booking are the ones who want to jump on Zoom calls, meet in person before they give you pricing. Kind of another thing. I've got pricing on my website. Now, I will say if I was booking a destination wedding, I need information. I do not know what it is going to cost me yet until I have the information. Now typically I don't need a Zoom call for that. Like I can say like, "Hey, I need to know when, what dates." Um, really? That's like the majority of it. Like what date, how long you want me there for, or even starting like, what is your budget? You tell me your budget. Um, Next thing they mentioned was family slash options. Weddings really do bring out the worst in select group of people. I did not realize my soon-to-be mother-in-law would be such an issue, but she has. She offered an amount she would contribute. We asked for the strings attached, and she originally said none. Then she gave us a list of 14 people to invite, and now we are about to send out save the dates, and we only invited 2 of them. Yeah, that can be crappy. I know, like, my grandma paid for my venue, and she was like, "Hey, I really want to invite my friends." If I had told my grandma no, I probably would have hurt her feelings a little bit, but she would have loved me no matter what. But I was like, yeah, I can give you one table, and we had a small reception. We had 100 people there. Um, that place was packed out. We had a small venue, and so like we literally could not do any more. Um, so I did that, but there was a lot of people I had to say no to. And I will say these specific women that are my grandma's friends, they have been her friends for my whole life. We all did Girl Scouts together and stuff like that. Like, actually, one of my grandma's best friends was my caterer for the wedding. So her and her husband were already there. Um, but that's so different for everybody. There were some family members who I was like, I cannot invite you. And this is the kind of rule of thumb that I went with picking my guests because I knew that we probably could have invited 200 people. We didn't do a lot of plus ones. Our people who came from out of town got plus ones. Um, um, and like when we'd invite a couple, like a cousin and husband, sometimes the kids weren't invited because they would have three, four, five kids. I'm like, that's like almost a whole table. I do not have that much room. Luckily, all the people in our wedding or all were invited were super happy to have a date night without their kids. Um, there were some kids at my wedding. Let's see. Oh yeah. And then the other thing, I went on like a 5 year rule. I got married when I was 22 years old. My husband was about to turn 22. If I hadn't seen you in 5 years, or like heard from you, you hadn't supported me or communicated with me in 5 years, and you didn't know my husband, and slash or have some family out of town who had not met my husband, but were super important to me, I was hesitant to invite you. But even like my grandma's friends, they had bought me birthday presents in the past 5 years. They, be like, oh, grandma would say, so and so was asking about you the other day. They were still invested. They still wanted to know. I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook and they comment, but there are some family members I literally probably haven't seen since I was 5. I'm sorry you were not invited to my wedding. I, I would love to form a relationship with you, but this day is about us and there hasn't been investment in us. And we had to make that kind of call because of how small our venue was. Okay, I'm going to go on to this person's next point, finances. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I think we all get that. Things can be so expensive. The next, if I hear one more person say, you could have saved money for a down payment on a house and just gotten married in a civil ceremony. Yeah, that's really annoying. Um, I would say, how much are you spending on this wedding? Like, if we're spending like $30,000, if you're going in debt for your wedding, maybe that's kind of my rule. Like, we did not go in debt for our wedding. We were able to pay for everything. Now, I will say I bartered for a lot of stuff, but if I hadn't have been in the situation that I was, I would have done a smaller wedding. I got a cousin who got married on the beach. It was an officiant who was also the photographer, which was weird. I could tell a whole story about that. But it was a beautiful ceremony. That's what they could afford, or maybe that's just what they wanted to do. I don't know. Um, but I'm not for going in debt for your wedding. I do think you can set yourself up for life better if you don't. Um, that's such a it depends question. If this is like your biggest dream in life, maybe we need to talk about that. But, you know, I think you can have special moments on a smaller, more affordable scale, but I also know that weddings are expensive. And so when I talk to couples who are on a budget, say a couple comes to me and is like, I only have $1,000. Like, but I want you to capture my day. I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to see how many hours I can get you. Talk about times of years. September, October, November are going to be probably your most expensive times of year. Um, December, January, February are cheaper. Even spring is cheaper now. It's kind of out of style, falls in. Weekdays sometimes can be cheaper. That's usually more of a venue thing because it's actual like literal space they're talking about, other than, vendors. Um, who doesn't really matter when you book me because I still have the work to do. Um, but I think that pricing, you just have to decide like what are your non-negotiables. Like for me, I would say a lot of people's non-negotiable are their photographer and venue. I and that's what I hear the most. People like, I can't negotiate on that. So I'm like, okay, so that's where you're gonna spend your money, and then you can negotiate on everything else. Maybe you get a dress off Facebook Marketplace that's been used once by somebody, and it might already be tailored best for you, or you just have to pay for the alterations because you only paid $500 for a dress instead of $1,000 for a dress. There's a good example. Maybe you don't go for a more expensive brand and you go for something else. Suits, maybe you rent instead of buy, or maybe you go and do maybe a cheaper option, not to get the whole suit kind of situation. Locations, venues are incredibly expensive. Maybe like, I've got some friends who are getting married. It's actually friends whose wedding I'm shooting. They're getting married at her family's property, and they're renting out a local event space for their reception. And just in case the wedding, sorry, God, I don't know if you saw a shock on my face. Paula just kicked a table and it startled me. Um, but they're renting out an event space that is cheaper than a venue, in case their ceremony needs to be moved inside, which would be a bummer because that's not exactly what they're looking for. But they'd be fine with it if it happens. But then also for the reception, that's a great idea. You got to work with what your budget is. Don't go in debt for your wedding. But it's your life. You can do whatever you want. All right. I want to move on to the next Reddit thread from r/wedding planning again. What questions to ask your photographer? And this is from photo_LA. Starting to interview wedding photographers and looking for suggestions on what to ask them to make sure we cover everything. We are not interested in an engagement session, nor are we interested in video? Any tips appreciated. So I want to start there. I highly recommend an engagement session. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Um, but your photographer is going to be with you all day, and you're spending probably a lot of money on your photographer. So I would suggest doing kind of a trial run to make sure you will like them for your wedding day. Video, I highly suggest at least having somebody come and video your ceremony, not your friend with an iPhone. I highly recommend just getting somebody to just come out and video your ceremony. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. You got to work with what you got, and I get it. Um, but if you do have that option, I did not value video. Truthfully, my mom was like, "No, you need a wedding video." And I did, and I love my videographer. She now does photography, and she's so good. Holly, you're amazing. Um, but and thank you for she videoed our ceremony. She videoed us reading our private vows. She did the highlight video. She did everything. She was amazing, and she's an amazing photographer now. Um, but yeah, I would suggest looking into that. So let's go into the comments. This person lists off a bunch of questions. So RD2MD underscore runner says photography is super important to me, and I just finished interviewing 10 plus photographers. Whoa. That may be standard. I really don't know. Here's the list of questions I ended up using. In the end, though, I went with my gut, who I'd enjoy working with on that day. Number one, what is it like to work with them on the wedding day? So, and I'm going to kind of answer these questions. Like, if these were the questions I was asked, like, if this person asked me, what is it like to work with you on a wedding day? Like, break down a wedding day. I usually, like, if we're talking about an 8 hour day, we're just going to go my most popular package, the most popular package I hear wedding photographers booking. So, I'll show up. I will do your details. I'll give pictures, invitations, jewelry, flowers, shoes, um, rings, the dress, stuff like that. And then I always say the bride needs to start getting ready or needs to be ready by the time I arrive. And then we will do touch up hair and makeup for the getting ready pictures. Because she's going to get touched up before they leave, anyways. And this way, we're not running behind. Pretty much everybody needs to be ready by the time I arrive. That's typically the rule of thumb. Or we'll be done by the time I'm done with detail pictures, which is like 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the day. So then I do that. I do the getting ready pictures of the bride. I'll do the getting ready pictures of the groom. We'll do a first look. If you don't want to do a first look, that's fine. I'm just going with the first look story. We will do couples portraits. We will do wedding party portraits. I will hide y'all away before the ceremony. We'll do the ceremony. We'll do family pictures, wedding party photos. If we need any more, if we got them all earlier, that's just cool. If it's sunset, then we'll go ahead and do some final couples portraits. If not, like if it's a summer wedding, we'll still use the reception. I always say it's best to be introduced and then go straight into your first dance. And then pretty much I just capture everything that happens for the night, and then I eventually leave when my time is over. I just like to be there for you. If you ask me to make you a plate of food at dinner, I'm going to do it. I usually, and I hope I've never annoyed anybody with this, but I'll, to my couples, like, hey, can I get you anything? Do you need water? Do you need a drink? Do you need to use the restroom? I can help you, but I can also go get somebody to help you. Like I'm, I'm a girl's girl. I'm here for you. Like, what do you need? Same with a guy. I'm like, hey, do you need anything? Like, can I get you some water? Have you eat today? I had one bride one time, um, almost pass out from not eating that day because I guess she was so nervous. But we were in Tennessee in the summer and it was hot. We were up in the mountains. An elevation change. I think her sugar got low. Luckily, I had some Gatorades in the car or body armor, something, and I gave her one and she started to feel better. Again, I just gave her that. Like, no big deal. I want you to feel good. I want you to have a good experience. All right, next question. What's your approach? How do you approach posing a couple? So, usually I have a list. Whatever the couple looks like, I'll make a list. And that has to do with height, weight, what the dress looks like. A lot of times brides will send me pictures of the dress beforehand. Um, and so you can see on my website a lot of the kind of pictures I take of couples, or well, really on my Instagram. I post a lot of pictures there. I like to shoot wide. I like to get up close. I like some posed. I like some more candid. Um, And I like to do a good mix. I always prioritize is the put your arm around each other and look at me and smile. And I always joke and say, all right, that's the picture your grandma's gonna put on her fridge. Um, and so that's kind of my approach, if that makes sense. How do you prepare for a shoot, especially at a new location? Ooh, good question. So, the night before a session, I charge all my batteries. So for a wedding, I bring at least 6 SD cards. Both of my cameras are dual SD, and then I have 2 backup minimum. I usually have way more than that though. But that's absolutely minimum. Usually if I'm going to a new location, I will go on their Instagram page and I will look at some pictures people have posted there. I'll go on Google Maps and kind of look at the lay of the land. I shoot at new places so often, usually right as soon as I arrive, even before I go to the couple, unless we're like super rushed. I'm usually an early arriver anyways. But sometimes traffic happens, which is why I leave early. So sometimes I get there right on time to start shooting, or whatever my contracted time is. Um, but I usually will walk around the property and find a good shady spot. And then see like a few different places I want to hit later because I'd like to have that in mind. And sometimes I'll take pictures and bring them to the couple and be like, hey, I want to do this here, this here, this here. Does that sound good? And they'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you. Um, yeah. Can we see some of your full galleries? Yeah, absolutely. Message me and I can share that with you. I do post a ton of pictures on my website. I also have some highlight galleries that I've posted on my Facebook. If you look at my albums, I think, yeah, yeah, you should see some pictures there too. And like in my pinned things on Facebook, you should see some of that too. All right, next question. How are images normally selected and processed for delivery? Approximately how many images do you select slash edit? So the rule of thumb is 50 photos an hour, not of each hour, but of an like 50 photos of 50 photos an hour kind of a thing. But obviously the ceremony is going to have more pictures than uh maybe the 30 minutes before the ceremony when just guests are arriving and we're getting a few details and stuff like that. Um, and I say getting details then because sometimes the ceremony is not put together until then. It's not done being put together until then. Um, so I don't know if we'll go through all of these questions because there's quite a lot and I kind of want to get to a few more comments. This may be the last one I answer. But so when I'm going through my wedding gallery, I will kind of select like each like different photo because I take a lot, like two to four photos of each photo. Like you looking at me like this? I've got like 4 photos of that. I look for no blinks. I look for like if your eyes were kind of cattywampus, the ones that look the best. And I like to choose as much as possible a vertical and a horizontal, an up close and a farther away. That's kind of my idea, and I do that for the entire gallery. And then editing, I just edit everything the way that I typically do. If there's obvious blemishes, removing stuff like that. Um, Color correcting, because sometimes you take a picture and it doesn't look quite right. And you're like, this burgundy dress is looking a little more purple, but in real life, I know it was a little more red. So I edit stuff like that. Um, okay, actually, we might answer the rest of these. So, who owns the right to the photos? Um, and what are your rights? In other words, do you need permission to post the photos on social media? Can you share them with guests, printing, etc.? And the you in the situation is the couple. So you can. So the only thing I ask, don't crop my photos, don't put filters on them. If you're not happy with something, let's talk about it. But my style is pretty consistent, so you should know what to expect. Don't sell the images. And if you want them published in a magazine, like if you have an opportunity, reach out to me and I'd love to talk to the magazine and I'll get that set up. You can print photos wherever you want, but my galleries are linked to a high quality lab that will give you a lot more consistency and sharp images like Walmart or Walgreens that are very inconsistent, but you can do whatever you want. I don't care. You can share them with guests. I've had people post the link to their wedding gallery on Facebook. Do what you want. Um, Next question. How do you collaborate? Wait, was that all the questions? Sorry. Let me look back at that. You can post them on social media. I don't care. Just don't crop them or edit them. Nope. Instagram might require you to crop it a little bit because of their ratio. That's fine. I just mean don't go like to town because it's not going to look right. Because I edit a uncompressed file where you will get a compressed file, which is what your phone can read. You have to have special programs to read uncompressed files. And that's what I edit. And so if you try to edit it, it's not going to be like if I was trying to edit. Um, yeah. Next question, how do you collaborate with other vendors? Many vendors request they be sent images. Let me know what vendors want images and I can 100% get that to them. No worries about that. I'll send them a contract just stating like kind of the same stuff, like don't edit my pictures, don't crop them, don't sell them, stuff like that, and tag me. I do like for vendors to tag me. Couples can choose to tag me or not. I don't care. I mean, I do care. I'd like you to tag me because I want to see when you post them, but you don't have to. Vendors, they're getting the photos for free, so I would like for them to tag me. What is the typical delivery timeline? Has that changed recently? So that is such an it depends question. There's going to be a different timeline for a 12-hour wedding than a 2-hour wedding. And it depends on the time of year. If you get married in February, you're probably going to get your pictures back a lot quicker than if you got married in October. So that is such an it depends question. But I will say, I know a lot of vendors don't do this, but one thing I do is a week or two after the wedding, you will receive a highlight gallery, and that's a couple pictures from each moment of your day. This is usually, actually, I will look and see how many photos. And I do a black and white copy of each photo too. As of right now, I've thought about stopping that because I never see people use the black and white copies and it just takes extra time. So I delivered a highlight gallery before a few days ago and it was 340 photos. That's including black and white copies. So, slice that in half for individual photos. Um, it's a pretty hefty highlight. And that was for an 8-hour wedding day. And I delivered that less than a week after their wedding. And so, like I said, it so depends. I've had a highlight, and it depends on your day. Oh, and it depends on who you are. If you're someone with a lot of blemishes, I'm going to have to spend more time editing that. If you're not, if the venue needs me to edit out a lot of signs, like emergency exit signs and blemishes on the wall and outlets and stuff like that, that's going to take me more time. Um, so that's such an it depends questions, but a week or two after, I want to have you some pictures so you can see your whole wedding day, even though it's not all of your photos. You can sit there and say, here's my details, here's my getting ready, here's our first look, here's our couples pictures, here's our wedding party, here's our ceremony, here's our family photos, here's our reception, here's our exit, all the things. I want you to have that ASAP. All right. Oh wait, where did our list go? What happened? Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong tab. Okay. What happens if there's an emergency and either the wedding is canceled or the photographer, for whatever reason, can't make it to the wedding? So the wedding is canceled. That's going to be outlined in the contract. There is a non-refundable retainer to save your date. That's such an it depends question. So, like, I had a couple who had signed all their contracts but hadn't paid me yet, and they canceled their wedding, and they were like, "What do we do?" I was like, "Well, technically, you haven't officially booked yet, so nothing. You're not booked yet, so that's it. If it's 2 days before the wedding, we're gonna have a conversation. But I'm gonna give you time to process that first because that's really big. I think this is a little too vague, but I do have some stuff outlined in my contract that can help mitigate that. But their industry standard there is a non-refundable retainer. Um, if I can't make it, I've got a list of people I love. I love their work, and so an associate will be there on my behalf. I will edit your pictures. Um, I am such a like, oh my gosh, what if there's an emergency person, to the point where I've like talked to my husband if I ever drop dead, what to do with all my pictures and who to give my laptop and SD cards to edit, pay that person. Oh, I just hit my mic. I'm really sorry for that if you heard that. Um, so I'm a catastrophizer, so no worries. Okay. So what happens if you need to cancel the contract with them? Do you lose the deposit? There's actually a difference in a deposit and retainer. I would look to see if it's not refundable. That would be my thing. I have a non-refundable retainer. What equipment do you bring to the shoot? Okay, and do you shoot film? I don't shoot film. I'm just going to answer that one right now. I was mainly interested in their favorite lenses to shoot on. I was interested in getting a variety of focal lengths. So I shoot with a Nikon D750, a Nikon D610. The lens I use the most is my 24 to 70, so I can get up close. I can also get wide. I also shoot with my 50 a lot if the ceremony requires it, or it would be better in the ceremony. I have an 80 to 200, so I can really get up close. And then I also have a vintage prime lens, or sorry, a vintage macro lens that I can use to get some shots of the details. Depending if it's a really dark place, it won't work because it's from like the 70s. But if there's good light and it looks just as good as any of my other lenses, you would never know. But yeah, that's all of this person's questions. Also, like I said, I bring a bunch of SD cards. I have 3 flashes. I have 2 LED panels. I usually bring a details bag, stuff like that. But yeah, okay. Whew. That was a lot. I want to get a sip of tea. In case you can't tell from watching all these videos, and I hope you have watched them all. If not, you should go do that because this is awesome. Not to brag, but I feel pretty awesome. But yeah, that's all. I feel like my brain's fried a little bit. I feel like I just like rapid fired all that, but I really hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, leave them in the comments down below because I would love to answer your questions, either in another video or in the comments. But yeah, I think that's going to be all for today's video. Of course, again, Apollo left us. I need to get a new dog because this one is not supportive. I don't even know where he went. He's not even laying in front of me anymore. What a lame dog. I'm just kidding. He's great. But yeah, I hope you liked this video. Like I said, it was a little bit different. It was more of like me giving you wedding planning advice. And then also that first crazy story was hysterical. Don't forget to like, comment down below what you would do. Also comment down below. We need an emoji for the day. Gotta think of one. Oh, do the bride emoji. Could y'all hear that? Apollo just like just kind of like groaned slash kind of howled. Sorry. But yeah, comment the bride emoji down below if you made it this far. Thank you for supporting my podcast. I look forward to the next video. If you have any stories or questions, leave them in the comments down below and I would love to include them in a future video. Bye.